First Nations communities are doing a lot of great work as it relates to health in their facilities.
Tonight, Manitoba tells First Nations to butt out. The First Nations answer back, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
As a family, we have a hard time waking up. We have a hard time going to sleep. We have a hard time even walking in our front door because it reminds us of so much of my husband.
And her husband was lost at sea. And now weeks later, she's trying to raise the boat he went down on to find out what went wrong. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin in Ottawa, where the federal government is making good on their promise to ramp up vaccine deliveries. Today, it was announced from March 22nd to May 10th, Canada will receive at least 1 million vaccine doses per week. Justin Trudeau said Canada's military is working with provincial governments and Indigenous partners to prepare for fast-track deliveries, and their top priority is making sure no one misses out on vaccines.
This includes Indigenous communities, which are particularly vulnerable to the virus. Vaccination is underway in over 530 Indigenous communities and communities in the territories. And for Indigenous people living in cities, we're working with the provinces and territories to get everyone their shots as soon as possible.
To the East Coast now, southwestern Nova Scotia is where the moderate livelihood fishery made headlines last fall, but tensions remain high. Yesterday, members of Sabaganagati First Nation discovered a building had been vandalized. It's where fishers had planned to sell their lobster. This red building has been sitting at the Sulnerville Wharf for months. It was painted Treaty Truckhouse No. 3 to identify it as part of the Peace and Friendship Treaty. It states the Mi'kmaq can set up buildings to barter, sell, and exchange goods. Just hours after the paint job, it was vandalized. Last night, Sabaganagati community members arrived at the wharf to assess the damage. Now they are staying to protect their boats. The RCMP are still investigating. Despite the damage, Jolene Marr said the truck house is staying put.
And within hours of it being painted and identified as Sabaganagati property, it was vandalized. So it's blatant racism, hate crime.
Meanwhile, it's been over a week since Fisheries Minister Bernadette Jordan issued a statement that the Mi'kmaq can harvest lobsters to earn a moderate livelihood, but that licenses will only be issued if fishers operate within the commercial season. Something criticized by Mi'kmaq and non-Mi'kmaq fishers alike. Today in the House, both the NDP and Conservatives pressed Minister Jordan over a lack of clarity in her plan. However, all answers were given by Agriculture Minister Marie-Claude Bibideau.
Madam Speaker, on March 3rd, the Minister of Fisheries issued a statement that was supposedly meant to bring clarity and certainty ahead of the spring lobster fishery. This 180-degree change in direction has failed to set a path that would bring back peace, security, and fairness for all participants in the lobster fishery. Now, we didn't get an answer to the member for Tobique-Matiquac, but can the minister confirm today in this House when the details of her so-called interim plan will be finally disclosed?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our government is committed to an approach based on the recognition of Indigenous treaty rights, conservation, sustainability, and sustainable and transparent fisheries management. The lobster stocks are healthy, and this season we will ensure that they are harvested sustainably and transparently. All fishers, including First Nations fishers, are focused on conservation and will all be encouraged to fish peacefully.
Still in Nova Scotia, a Mi'kmaq public personality who is also a probation officer and an Indigenous liaison officer for the Nova Scotia Department of Justice has been charged by the RCMP for an indecent act. Trevor Sanapus is a member of the Eskasoni First Nation. According to court documents obtained by APTN, RCMP charged him with an indecent act for an alleged incident that occurred July 7th, 2019. According to Sanapus' LinkedIn page, he's a cultural advisor for such agencies as the Department of Fisheries and Oceans and CBC Radio 1's Information Morning. A champion arm wrestler, Sanapus consulted on APTN's docuseries Arm Nation. He's set to appear in provincial court March 31st. A widow in northern BC is looking for answers in her husband's tragic incident at sea. Last month, a tugboat sank on the west coast, 40 kilometers south of Kitimat, claiming 2 lives and leaving 1 survivor. Judy Carlick-Pearson wants the boat recovered because she believes it can show what happened to her husband and the crew. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
On February 11th, the tugboat Ingenika capsized on the Gardner Canal, 40 kilometers south of Kitimat, BC. An emergency beacon was sent. An RCMP marine vessel and the Canadian Coast Guard started a search. 1 survivor was found near shore, but 2 men lost their lives, Charlie Craig and Troy Pearson. The tugboat is still at the bottom of the ocean. The RCMP say they're investigating the incident along with the BC Coroner Service. Pearson's widow, Judy Carlick-Pearson, started an online campaign to salvage the vessel for environmental reasons and a personal one.
The last portion of that is that we want that tug salvaged because who knows what answers are at the bottom of the ocean with it.
The Coast Guard, however, says recovering the boat could put more lives at risk. In a written statement to APTN, they said, "We believe that some of, if not most, of the fuel dissipated in the first 72 hours during the storm. A remotely operated vehicle controlled by the RCMP followed the path left by the tow line to the depth of 565 feet without locating the vessel. The suspected depth of the vessel would make any attempts at recovery difficult and very dangerous." In Kitimat Village, Haisla Hereditary Chiefs Sammy Robinson and Jake Duncan are also calling for the tugboat to be pulled up from the canal. Jake Duncan believes the federal government, or Rio Tinto, the company the tug was working for, should raise the tug to limit damages at sea.
RTA is a big company. They must have resources to some kind of ROV to go down to look for it. So that's what we're depending on, is somebody to get to the table and sit around the table and see what we can do collectively as Haisla people.
Robinson says the area is important for his people's fishery. They depend on it today. The Commando River is where the Ulukan migrate to spawn.
They're very, very delicate fish, the Ulukans. They won't go up there if there's any fuel there or any foreign thing in the water. They will turn right back. We know that for hundreds of years, and we kept it as clean as possible in my childhood and up till today.
We reached out to Rio Tinto, but did not hear back from them before airtime. Judy Carlick-Pearson's online campaign to recover the tugboat has nearly 10,000 signatures. She plans to continue. She's grateful for everyone's support and says, "The recovery of the Ingenika can give all families impacted by the tragedy some closure."
As a family, we have a hard time waking up. We have a hard time going to sleep. We have a hard time even walking in our front door because it reminds us of so much of my husband. And so any answers that speak to us, and anything that says, you know what, this happened or that happened, then we have some peace. We have some peace at the end of the day, and it will help with our healing.
Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
You can find more on this tragic story on our website. Time for a quick break, but still to come, why the Saskatchewan Country Music Association is in hot water. Welcome back. The Manitoba government has introduced a bill that would see smoking exemptions on First Nations revoked. Bill 56 has First Nations organizations speaking out. Daryl Stranger has more.
Public smoking has been banned in Manitoba for a number of years, but that ban has not applied to First Nations as they fall under federal jurisdiction. But under Bill 56, there would be no smoking allowed anywhere in the province. Now, in a written statement to APTN, Minister of Health, Wellness and Recovery Audrey Gordon said the province wants to see all of Manitoba smoke-free. Quote, "We want to ensure that all of Manitoba, not just sections of it, are provided equitable access to live and work in smoke and vapor-free environments." Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Arlen Dumas released a statement calling the bill an unjustified intrusion on the jurisdiction of First Nations. Any attempt by the province to change the Smoking Act regarding First Nations reserves in Manitoba is illegitimate and unconstitutional. Southern Chiefs Organization Grand Chief Jerry Daniels said First Nations communities already have limits on smoking in their communities.
First Nations aren't just going to sit by and just allow that to happen. And so I think that the sober second thought of the provincial government is to take a step back, pause for a bit. Let's have a conversation around this, because First Nations communities are doing a lot of great work as it relates to health in their facilities. And in fact, many of the areas in our VLT lounges that are smoking are for those who smoke. And many of the communities have areas for non-smokers.
MKO Grand Chief Garrison Satie also released a statement on the matter. This approach and these actions are regrettable, perpetuate colonialism, and are inappropriate in light of Legislative Assembly's endorsement of the principles of reconciliation. Minister Gordon said the province has reached out to 63 First Nations communities to engage in dialogue over the matter. Now, the bill would still allow the ceremonial use of tobacco. It's uncertain when this bill could be passed, as it's currently making its way through the legislative process. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Still in Manitoba, the countdown is on. After nearly 3 years of construction, the Winnipeg Art Gallery's Haumajak Inuit Art Centre is about to open its doors to the public at the end of March. The WAG gave media a virtual sneak peek of the space this week. The space is home to approximately 14,000 pieces, making it the largest public collection of contemporary Inuit art in the world. The multi-level building includes a gallery level, an open concept learning space, and a 4-story glass vault that will showcase a range of artwork, including sculptures, carvings, paintings, and more. The design of the center was based off the landscapes, light, and peoples of the north. Inua will be the first exhibition to take place at the center and features work from more than 90 Inuit artists, including pieces from the curators' families.
It's really special that it's here in the exhibition and on loan, and that I get to spend time with it and to spend time with her beadwork. She passed away when I was a little girl, and so I didn't get to spend as much time with her when I was growing up as I would have liked, and so it's really special to me to have this here now.
So these are dolls wearing traditional sort of like Mother Hubbard style dresses from the Western Arctic, from the Inuvialuit regional settlement. It's really heartwarming to see family within the exhibition. It makes me feel very at home.
Excellent stuff. Looking forward to touring it. On tonight's APTN Investigates, we have part 2 of Down the Barrel, a documentary looking back at 50 years of the fight for Indigenous rights in Canada. Rob Smith is the reporter who brings you this epic tale, and he joins us now. Rob, thanks for being with us. Last week you introduced the idea of this decades-long battle for Indigenous rights taking place on 3 fronts. Can you remind our listeners what those are?
Certainly, but first maybe just a little bit of a programming note here. At Investigates, we tend to like to make our individual, even if we do two-part series, make them individual standalone as shows as possible. This time, however, there's just so much information that it's one big long. We treated it like a big long documentary that you cut in half. So I'd say to viewers, if you hadn't saw part 1, check it out. It's online. Binge it. You won't regret it. Mm-hmm. We introduced this concept of fighting on three fronts. That being direct action, which we noted with the Wet'suwet'en raids from last year. We looked at, we did a deep dive on the Yukon land claim agreement that took 20 years to get to. And we looked at west coast of Vancouver Island fishing rights case that was a victory 11 years ago. However, they haven't seen the fruits of that victory quite yet.
When all was said and done, what insight did you glean as to why people fight sometimes, their entire lives?
Yeah, it is something else. It is a cradle to the grave thing for a lot of these people who decide to take on this fight for Indigenous rights, this fight for human rights. It's something that is connected to identity, it's connected to culture, it's connected to family, and it's passed down. And we see that in the case of Marilyn Jensen from the Yukon. Her mother was a land claims fighter who spent her life fighting for her people, and now her daughter is taking on, in a different way, but taking on that same fight to regain and revitalize culture. It's something ingrained, and I'm sure there's many in our newsroom who have family members who have been in that fight themselves.
Rob, why was this a story that you wanted to take on?
Well, as I just mentioned, there's many in our newsroom who have gone through this. It's something personal for me. Saw my dad do that fight all his life as I grew up, across the table, nose to nose with the government, trying to forge a way forward for the people, for his people, and same with my mom, who started a newspaper back in the day, Indigenous newspaper. So it was a bit of a personal story. It's also a bit of a story that just shows it's something that's just continuing. It's a cycle, it's a circle, and it really kind of highlights the hypocrisy of Canada, who just can't come out and say, the government-wise and society-wise, that might equals right here. That there's still talk of reconciliation, even though there's all these court victories and negotiations and talk of reconciliation that just don't come to fruition.
Well, Rob, great story. Looking forward, as I'm sure many are, to tonight's episode. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Dennis.
And Rob's doc is up in about under 10 minutes' time. We got to step aside for one more quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Our viewer Daryl Stranger in Alberta, father to our own Daryl Stranger, sent us this photo of the adorable Coda learning to climb the stairs in his new home. A cutie. We always enjoy seeing photos of your pets, the scenery, family, hobbies and adventures. You can send your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Time now to take a quick look at our weather forecast for tomorrow. Starting on the east coast, +4 in St. John's, 1 above with snow in Halifax, 20 below for Inukjuak, -12 with snow for Happy Valley Goose Bay, -3 in Montreal, 9 below and flurries for Chibougamau, +5 in Sault Ste. Marie, 7 above and sunny in Toronto, 10 in Thunder Bay, +6 with showers for Sioux Lookout, -22 in Churchill, 4 below for God's Lake, +9 in Winnipeg, +3 in Barons River, 4 above for Saskatoon, sunny and 9 for Regina, 6 and sunny in Meadow Lake, -12 with snow for Uranium City. In northern Alberta, +2 with snow in Fort McMurray, 8 above in Grand Prairie, 12 for Medicine Hat, sunny and 15 in Lethbridge. 14 for Vancouver, a sunny high of 13 for Victoria, -6 in Dease Lake, +6 in Prince George. Minus 20 for Old Crow, snow, and 9 below in Whitehorse. Minus 16 with snow in Yellowknife, 18 below in Norman Wells. Minus 23 for Sax Harbor, 18 below for Colville Lake. Minus 23 in Baker Lake and Arviette, 27 below in Cambridge Bay. Minus 30 in Resolute, 20 below in Clyde River. The Saskatchewan Country Music Association has come under fire for a racist comment that took place during one of its meetings. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has that story.
During a meeting for the Saskatchewan Country Music Association in February, Reg Wilkie, one of the members in attendance, made a comment about recipients of the Indigenous music category. Vice President Jared Patras was upset, and he posted that comment on social media.
Then the comment came up about why should we give them an award when they're just going to hawk it anyway or pawn it off, And then that's what the post was about, and I was looking for allies, anybody who may have experienced something like this.
Wes Labrache, the president of the SCMA, says the comment was made after the members decided not to have an Indigenous category because there were too few nominees.
They made a decision not to issue awards if there were less than 3 nominees for 3 years or more. And that applied to our Indigenous award, as well as the Roots and the Gospel.
Don't look up now, it's coming down. Rains are falling everywhere.
Forest Eagle speaker and Indigenous artist who is part of the duo North Sound says he's not surprised by the comment.
It wasn't shocking in any way, I guess, because, being who I am in the music community that I'm in, or just not even just about being in the music community, being an Indigenous person in Saskatchewan or in Canada, you get used to these things. So it was disappointing, but it wasn't shocking.
Labrache admits systematic racism is alive in Saskatchewan and within the Country Music Association.
People who don't fit that description probably don't feel welcome. They don't feel appreciated. And, if you don't feel welcome and appreciated, why would you participate, right? And so that's the problem we have. That's a problem that many organizations have within mainstream society, and that's systemic racism.
He adds they need more Indigenous artists to join the association and be nominated.
Now, we would like to be as inclusive as possible. The more artists that are a part of our organization, the stronger and better we are going to be. I'd like to personally put that call out to Indigenous artists everywhere within Saskatchewan to become a member. Go to scma.sk.ca and join our organization. When you bring your voice to the organization, you bring change.
Portra says Wilkie has since left the association. He also wants more Indigenous artists to come forward to join. The Saskatchewan Country Music Awards will be taking place April 28th online. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Country music, eh? Well, that's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for joining us. Stick around. APTN Investigates is up next. Have a great night.